Okay, let me clear something up right up front right now. Muscle is not about getting huge. It's not about being buff or shredded. It's not about looking good at the beach or impressing anyone, really. Muscle equals health. Strength equals longevity. Without it, you die. That's not traumatic. That is what the research says. All causes of mortality, your risk of dying from anything, goes up when muscle mass goes down. Heart disease, diabetes, cancer survival rates, fall risk, cognitive decline, all of it correlates to how much muscle you carry. Your muscle is your metabolic engine. It's where you store glucose. It's what protects your joints. It's what keeps you upright when you trip. It's what lets you get off the toilet without help at 80. People spend thousands of dollars on supplements, biohacks, longevity clinics, and they skip the one thing that actually works, building and maintaining muscle tissue. Today, I'm going to show you exactly how we do it at the Strength Laboratory, the methods, the variations, why each one matters, and how we put it all together into a system that builds you up instead of breaks you down. Let's get into it. Sarcopenia, age-related muscle loss. It starts in your 30s. Most people have no idea it's even happening. By your 50s, you're losing 1 to 2% of your muscle mass every year. By 70, if you've done nothing about it, you've lost 25 to 30% of what you had. And here's the brutal part. It's not just size, it's quality. The muscle that remains gets infiltrated by fat. It becomes less responsive to signals from your nervous system, and it produces less force. This is the number one predictor of frailty, falls, and early death. Not heart disease, not cancer, muscle loss. When researchers look at who survives falls, who recovers from surgery, who maintains independence into their 80s and 90s, it comes down to muscle mass. How much you have and how strong is it? The only intervention that reverses it is resistance training. Not walking, not swimming, not yoga, not pills or injections, resistance training. Specifically, the kind of resistance training that challenges the muscle enough to force adaptations. And that's what we do. That's what the Strength Laboratory is built around. So let's talk about why most approaches fail and how we solve it. Okay, here are the problems with most training programs, and there's four big ones. One is adaptation. Your body adapts to everything you throw at it. That's actually the point. You stress it, it adapts, it gets stronger. But here's the problem. Once it adapts, the same stimulus stops working. You do the same routine long enough, results stall. You're just maintaining at best. And that's not a flaw in your effort. That's just biology. Your body is efficient. It only builds what it needs to handle the current demand. Two, randomness. Some people think, okay, I need variety. And then they go random. Okay, different workout every day, whatever they feel like. But chaos isn't a program. Random workouts don't create progressive adaptation, they just create confusion. You need structured variation, plan changes that build on each other. Three, injury risk. Now, this is huge for anyone over 40. Older bodies get injured easier. Tendons are less elastic, recovery takes longer, accumulated wear and tear adds up, and most injuries happen at the tendon, specifically the distal portion where the muscle attaches to the bone. That's the weak link. Most programs never address it. Four, incomplete development. Most programs only train one part of the muscle. They hit the mid range where you're the strongest. They never train the stretch position. They never train the fully contracted position. Those gaps become weak links, and weak links become injury sites. So, how do we solve all four problems simultaneously? Well, it's called method variations. Method variations. This is how we beat adaptation. We rotate through 6 different approaches. Each one attacks the muscle differently. Different angles, different contraction types, different fatigue patterns, different stress on the tendons and connective tissues. Contraction type drop sets manipulate how the muscle contracts within the set. Biomechanical drop sets manipulate the leverage to extend the set. Pre-fatigue and post-fatigue control which muscles fail first. The positions of flexion method variation trains the muscle at every single length. Two-stage combination, stack stimuli back to back. Variable range of motion sets, the 21s method targets specific portions within the range of motion. Every 6 weeks, we rotate. New stimulus, new adaptation signal. Now, here's why that matters to you and why it matters to your body. Your body can only adapt to what it's exposed to. Expose it to the same thing repeatedly, it stops adapting. Expose it to strategically different stimuli, it gets back to adapting. While other people are doing the same workout they did last year, wondering why they feel stuck, we consistently evolve. Different but the same. Structured variations. That's how you beat the adaptation problem. Let me show you each method. Okay, drop sets. 2 types we use. First, contraction type drop sets. You change how the muscle contracts within the same set. There are different types of muscle actions: isometric, eccentric lowering, concentric lifting, and pauses at different points. Pre-fatigue and post-fatigue. 2 opposite approaches, same goal. Here's the problem they solve. In compound movements, you have multiple muscles working together. One of them is going to fail first. Usually, it's not the muscle you're trying to target. It's a smaller supporting muscle. Your triceps fail before your chest on bench press. Your grip fails before your back on rows. The target muscle never gets fully exhausted. Pre-fatigue fixes this by tiring the target muscle first with an isolation exercise. Then immediately do the compound. Example is chest fly, then bench press. The chest is now pre-fatigued. When you get to the bench press, the chest is already tired. So now it's the limiting factor. It fails first. It gets full stimulus. Post-fatigue works the opposite way. You do the compound first while you're fresh, move the most weight, recruit the most muscle, then immediately isolate and finish the target pec muscles. Example, bench press, then flies. You max out the compound movement. Then the flies finish off whatever pecs your chest has left. Total exhaustion. Both methods ensure the target muscle gets fully worked. No weak links left behind. No, I felt it more in my shoulders or my arms gave out first. The muscles you're targeting get the full stimulus. Pre-fatigue is especially useful for people who have trouble feeling certain muscles work. If you can't feel your lats on rows, pre-fatigue them with pullovers. Now you feel them. Next, positions of flexion. This is about training the muscle through the entire length. Every muscle has 3 positions where it can be loaded differently. Mid-range, this is where you're strongest. This is where compound movements happen. The bench press, squat, rows. You can handle the most weight here because the leverage is favorable and multiple muscles contribute. This is where most people spend all of their time. Stretched. The muscle is fully lengthened. Maximal tension at the bottom of the range. Think about incline dumbbell flies at the bottom. Romanian deadlifts at the bottom. Overhead triceps extensions at the bottom. Research shows that loaded stretching is incredibly powerful for hypertrophy, possibly more important than we've ever realized. The contracted position. The muscle is fully shortened, peak squeeze at the top. Think of cable crossovers at the squeeze, leg curls at the top, concentration curls at the top. This is where you get maximum muscle fiber recruitment in the shortened position. Here is the problem. Most people only train mid-range. They do their bench press, their rows, their squats, all mid-range dominant exercises, and they never train the stretch or contracted positions. They're missing 2/3 of the stimulus. At the Strength Laboratory, we train all 3 positions for each muscle group. Complete development, no gaps, no weak points that become injury sites later. This is how bodybuilders built complete physiques. They understood you have to hit every angle. We use the same wisdom for our longevity and function, not just aesthetics. Two-stage combinations, maximum efficiency. 2 exercises performed back to back, no rest between them. The first exercise hits the muscle one way, maybe a compound movement, maybe a specific angle. Before the muscle can recover, you immediately hit it with the second exercise. Different angle, different contraction type, different demand. One set becomes 2 stimuli. You're stacking adaptations. This is different from a superset where you might work opposing muscles. This is hitting the same muscle twice in a row with different demands. An example would be doing a leg press and going right into leg extensions. The leg press is a compound, quads, glutes, everything working. The moment you finish, you go right to the leg extensions. Pure quad isolation. The quads never get a break. Total time under tension goes through the roof. Another example would be dumbbell press into dumbbell flies. Push the weight, then immediately open up and stretch. 2 stimuli, 1 extended set. The efficiency here is incredible. You're getting the work of 2 separate exercises in the time and recovery cost of 1. For people who are busy, you don't have 2 hours to spend in the gym. This is how you maximize stimulus per minute. 21s, or variable range of motion sets. Because you're changing the demand within the combination, you're hitting different motor units, different portions of the strength curve, more complete development. 7 reps at the bottom half of the movement, 7 reps in the top half, 7 reps through the full range. 21 total reps. Bodybuilders made this famous. They used it to pack on massive amounts of tissue so they could look good in some little posing trunks in front of a bunch of other dudes cheering. That's not our application. We're not trying to win a bodybuilding show, but the method is brilliant and it works for us too, for a completely different reason. Here's what 21s actually do. They develop the tendon at both ends of the range of motion. The distal portion, where the tendon attaches near the joint, and the proximal portion, where it blends into the muscle belly. When you do partial reps in the stretch position, the bottom half, you're loading the tendon at the most vulnerable point. When you do partial reps in the contracted position, the top half, you're loading it at both ends. Most injuries happen at the distal tendon. That's where the tissue is thinnest, where blood supply is lowest, where tears and strains occur. By specifically training that range with high reps and controlled load, you're bulletproofing the exact area that breaks down. Bodybuilders were building size. We're building resilience. Same method, different application. For anyone 40 to 70 who wants to stay injury-free while building functional muscle, 21s are incredibly valuable. You're strengthening the muscle and its attachment points. Next, the repeated effort method. This is the foundation of hypertrophy training. 2 variants, short and long. Repetitive effort short builds mass. This is about the surface muscles, the ones you can see and feel, the fast twitch fibers that generate high force. This is the tissue that protects your joints by absorbing impact and moves your joints by generating power. When we do repetitive effort short, we're using moderate to heavy loads, controlled tempos, and we're accumulating fatigue until velocity drops about 10 to 20% from where we started. That's the cutoff. Once velocity drops 10 to 20%, the set is done. Why velocity loss? Well, because it tells us exactly how fatigued the muscle is. We're not guessing based on feel or counting some arbitrary rep numbers. We're measuring actual performance decline. When you've lost 10 to 20% of your starting velocity, you've accumulated enough stimulus. More than that, you're just accumulating junk volume and recovery debt. Repetitive effort long builds endurance. This targets the deep stabilizers, the muscles closest to the bone. These are composed primarily of slow twitch endurance fibers. They don't generate big forces, but they fire consistently. They keep you stable and upright. Repetitive effort long also strengthens connective tissue, the tendons and ligaments that hold everything together. Higher rep ranges, longer time under tension, velocity loss target of 20 to 30%. Here's the key insight. You need both. Repetitive effort short gives you the mass to build strength upon. Without muscle size, you have nothing to strengthen. But mass alone isn't enough. Repetitive effort long gives you the endurance to sustain it, the stabilizers that keep you safe, the connective tissue that doesn't break down. We use both variants in every training cycle. That's how you build a body that's not only strong, but durable. Rehab and prehab workouts. The ultra high rep work, 100 to 600 repetitions per week for specific areas. This sounds crazy to most people. 600 reps, it's not building muscle. That's just cardio with weights. But that is exactly the point. This isn't about hypertrophy. This is about tissue health. Ultra high rep work develops mitochondrial density in the tissues. Mitochondria are the energy factories in your cells. More mitochondria means better energy production, better endurance, and faster recovery between efforts. It develops tendon and ligament health. These tissues have poor blood supply compared to muscles. They take longer to adapt and longer to heal. High rep, low load work increases blood flow to these areas, develops nutrients, and stimulates the cell that maintains and repairs connective tissues. It builds connective tissue resilience, the stuff that holds your joints together, the stuff that fails when people blow out a knee or tear a rotator cuff. It builds recovery capacity. The better your tissues can process metabolic byproducts and deliver nutrients, the faster you recover between sessions. This is what lets you train hard consistently without breaking down. During intensification cycles, when we're pushing heavy weights for strength, we occasionally reduce this work to prioritize size and strength development. But during accumulation cycles, this is essential. Think of it as insurance. We're bulletproofing the body before problems happen. Rehabilitation from injury is hard, painful, and slow. Rehabilitation before injury is smart, easy, and fast. Which would you rather do? Velocity controls everything. This is the control system that makes the strength laboratory different from every other gym. Two things velocity tells us: intensity and fatigue. Velocity targets give us intensity. How hard is the muscle working? We don't just guess based on how the weight feels. We measure how fast it's moving. Slower velocity means heavier relative load. Faster velocity means lighter relative load. When you're below 0.5 meters per second on the resistance, you're at approximately 80% of your 1 rep max or higher. That's the alarm response threshold. That's the intensity level where your body goes, whoa, this is serious. We need to adapt. Below that threshold, you're just maintaining. You're not really giving your body a reason to build. You might feel like you're working hard, but the intensity isn't there. The adaptation signal isn't there. But there's the other side. The signal can't be so overpowering that injury results. You can't just load up on maximum weight and just grind. That's how people get hurt. Velocity loss gives us fatigue. How tired is the muscle getting? If you start a set at 0.5 meters per second and you're now at 0.4 meters per second, you've lost 20% of your velocity. The muscle is fatigued. That's objective data, not subjective feel. 10 to 20% velocity loss for repetitive effort short, 20 to 30% for repetitive effort long. You hit those thresholds, the set is done. No arbitrary rep count. No, just do 3 more. The muscle has accumulated enough stimulus. This is why everything at the strength laboratory is measured. We track every rep. We know exactly how much intensity you hit, how much fatigue you accumulated, and when to stop. Everything is quantified. Everything is optimized. No guessing. Your muscles are stimulated 3 different ways. 3 different stimuli, 3 different adaptations. Strength. This is neurological. It's about how your nervous system recruits muscle fibers. how it coordinates them, how efficiently it can produce force, you can get dramatically stronger without adding any muscle size if you improve the neural component. That's why beginners get strong so fast. Their nervous system is learning, not their muscles growing. We train strength with the maximal effort method. Heavy loads, low reps, maximum neural drive. Mass and endurance. This is physiological. This is actual structural change to the muscle tissue itself. The muscle fibers get bigger. They get more numerous. The connective tissue strengthens. The mitochondria multiply. This is what the repeated effort method develops. The physiological changes require time under tension, metabolic stress, and accumulated fatigue. This takes longer than neural adaptations, but it's what creates lasting change in body composition. Speed is neurological again. How fast can your nervous system fire? How quickly can it send the signal and coordinate the contraction? Speed and power are about rate of force development, not just about how much force you can produce, but how fast can you produce it. We train speed with the dynamic effort method. Lighter loads move with maximum velocity. Now, here's what most programs miss. Strength and speed are neurological adaptations. Mass and endurance are physiological adaptations. They require different training methods. Now, most gyms just train one, maybe two of these. We train all three. Every training cycle includes max effort for strength, repeated effort for mass and endurance, and dynamic effort for speed. That's concurrent training. That's how you develop a complete human being, not just someone who's strong or fast or has muscle. Old man strength is real. And here's the science behind why it exists. Young adults, people in their teens and 20s, are physiologically superior. Their endocrine system is optimally balanced. They're producing peak levels of human growth hormone, testosterone, IGF-1, all the hormones necessary to grow muscles. Their recoverability capacity is incredible. They can train hard, eat garbage, sleep 5 hours, and still make gains. But neurologically, they're inferior. They're still developing motor programs. Their movement patterns are inefficient. They haven't built the library of coordinated actions that comes with decades of practice. They might have the hormones to build muscle, but they do not have the coordination to use it effectively. Now, look at trained adults over 40. We're physiologically declining. That's a reality. Hormone levels drop. Recovery takes longer. We can't get away with bad habits anymore. But neurologically, we're superior. We have decades of motor programs built up. Our movement patterns are efficient, refined, automatic. We don't have to think about how to move. We just move. Our nervous system knows exactly how to recruit muscle fibers because it's done it millions of times. Here's the opportunity. If we can maintain our physiological capacity through proper training, if we can increase the efficiency of our endocrine system through nutrition and recovery, if we can create optimal physiological conditions for muscle to grow, and we leverage our neurological superiority, we can get better results than someone in their 20s or 30s in the gym. I've seen it. A trained 55-year-old who has dialed in their training, nutrition, and recovery will outperform a 25-year-old who just is winging it. The experience advantage is that powerful. Old man strength isn't a myth. It's the result of neurological mastery applied to maintaining physiology. And that's what we built at the Strength Laboratory. When you walk into the Strength Laboratory, look at the pictures on our walls. Eugene Sandow, the father of modern bodybuilding. Before supplements, before machines, before any of it, he understood progressive resistance and muscle development in the 1800s. Steve Reeves, the most aesthetically perfect physique ever built. All natural, proportional, functional, and beautiful. He proved you could build a world-class body without drugs. Mike Manser, the philosopher of intensity. He challenged everything about volume and frequency. He proved you could build incredible muscle with less work if the work was hard enough. Arnold Schwarzenegger and Franco Columbu, the golden era, they pioneered training splits, exercise variations, and the mind muscle connection. They were scientists in the gym, constantly experimenting. Tom Platz, the legs that shocked the world. He understood that the mind gives up way before the body does. He pushed the boundaries of what was possible. Dr. Fred Hatfield, Dr. Squat, one of the first to bring actual science into strength training. He merged the academic world with the iron game. Louis Simmons, West Side Barbell, the conjugate method, concurrent training, bands, chains, speed work. Almost everything we do at the Strength Laboratory traces back to the principles he developed or popularized. Bill Pearl, trained into his 80s, proved that strength and muscle are a lifetime pursuit, not just a young man's game. These people made it their life's work to understand how the human body builds muscle and strength. They forged the path we walk on. Now, informed by modern physical therapists, movement specialists, and sports scientists, we've taken everything that works, stripped out what doesn't, and refined it into a system. The Strength Laboratory is the history of strength. Optimize everything they discovered, everything the research have proven, developed, and refined so you lack nothing. Okay, so here's the difference between the Strength Laboratory and everywhere else. Whatever you're not training is in atrophy and declining right now, today. That's not pessimism, that's biology. Your body doesn't maintain things it doesn't need. It's too metabolically expensive. If you're not challenging a capacity, your body just lets it go. Muscles you don't use, they're gone. Speed you don't train, gone. Balance you don't challenge, gone. Sarcopenia, muscle loss, is the enemy. And it's coming for everyone. It predicts frailty, falls, and early death better than almost any other marker. Cognitive decline is the enemy. Your brain is shrinking. Without the right stimulation, memories fade, processes slow. Most people spend their life over 40 just managing decline, trying to slow it down, accepting that things will get worse, hoping to delay the inevitable. And that's not what we do. By continually challenging and changing the stimulus every 6 weeks, we're always maintaining and building capacity. The method variations ensure we never adapt and stall. The concurrent training ensures we develop strength, mass, endurance, and speed, not just one at the expense of others. The body has limitless adaptive ability. That's not exaggeration. Put the right demand on it, give it the right recovery, and it will adapt at any age. The rate might be slow, but the ability never disappears. While other people are managing decline, we are actively building, getting better than we were last year, better than we were 5 years ago. That's the Strength Laboratory difference. We're not slowing the clock down, we're turning it backwards. Muscle equals health, strength equals longevity. The Strength Laboratory. Train like it matters, because it does. Thanks for watching. We'll see you at the gym.